On Friday, August 25th, 2017, Hurricane Harvey made landfall at Rockport, Texas. This small community rarely captured headlines, with much more attention going to Houston, Texas. Residents and business owners sought help, but it rarely came. These photographs show the destruction's after effects 11 months later. The scripture tells us that a crowd gathered to hear Jesus. They came because he had something to offer them. They listened with rapt attention, and after teaching all day and into the evening, there was a dilemma. Perhaps these folks came needing the bread of life, but now they also needed physical bread. They were hungry, and they had no plan to go forward to meet a basic need. Likewise, the disciples probably expected that they would be having a normal day with Jesus. They probably had no idea that crowds of thousands of people would show up that day. Certainly they did not feel responsible for the welfare of those who gathered. At the very least, they were overwhelmed with what to do. Overwhelmed. The people of Rockport have been overwhelmed. Help came slowly, if at all. They have applied for assistance and been turned away. FEMA grants have been a drop in the bucket. Homes sat abandoned for months while residents were displaced. Major structural damage, but also damage within the walls and ceilings occurred. People came in to help, but perhaps only completed the assessment of needs and removal of damaged areas. Sometimes homes were still lived in but full of mold or stripped down to the wall studs. The task was overwhelming. There has been so much to do, and people did not know where to turn. The cleaning out of people's homes resulted in their belongings being dragged to the roadside, picked up, and put in the middle causeways of Texas Highway 35. Eventually, those items were incinerated, and this picture shows just one ash heap. Into the midst of this feeling of overwhelmedness, the church enters. Let us tell you about the Flores family. They had applied for assistance with several different agencies. Finally, the United Methodist Committee on Relief, through the Rio, Texas Conference Disaster Relief Team, answered their call. Our senior high students and chaperones began their work there on Monday, painting ceilings and walls, removing trim, and installing flooring. Over the course of the week, it was easy to see the home transformed with new color, and as various places received flooring, furniture and appliances were placed. Suddenly, a house is becoming a home. Our volunteers were preparing a bedroom closet for flooring and painting and discovered an Umpcore cleaning bucket inside. Proof that the church has been on the scene since the beginning and will continue to be there to help people put their lives and homes back together again. These scenes and pictures that you see of that site show the work that has been done in the Flores home this week. And in this last picture, you will see the Flores family with our crew. Once the bulk of the painting was completed at the Flores home, half of the senior high group moved from Rockport to Aransas Pass. Their homeowners had been displaced and struggled with what to do. When they returned, their roof had somehow been replaced. There are multiple generations living in the home, so it has been important for them to try to get work done quickly, as several of them need assistance. Our crew helped them mud and sand walls and ceilings. They also helped them clean up their yard. Later in the week, our drywall crew came to help them with a project that several had attempted but could not accomplish: a row of difficult to install drywall on the living room ceiling. These homeowners were grateful for the assistance of the church and helping rebuild their home. Our middle school students were not old enough to work through the Rio, Texas Disaster Relief Office, so we had to find work for them. In this video clip, Colby McGahee explains the process for our work. We used funds we raised for the trip to purchase the materials and supplies used at the site this week. Libby and Colby, what are you working on right now?
Well, we're measuring to cut drywall. So.
And why do you need to do drywall work?
Because most of the walls in this man's house were either wrecked in the storm or damaged in the storm, so we are going to help cut out some drywall and redo the walls in their house.
Through contacts at First United Methodist Church in Rockport, we were able to secure work at the Melton home. The homeowners had sought help from a number of resources. They had invested their funds in a new roof, but the worker from the contractor's company didn't complete the work and left with their funds. Since that time, the company has returned and made the roof repairs, but the damage was redone inside the home. Black mold and wet drywall and insulation were throughout the home. Previous volunteers had come in to rip out the wet drywall and insulation and clean up the mold. So our group drywalled the kitchen ceiling, the family room ceiling, installed insulation and drywall in the family room exterior wall, and worked on cleaning up the property. Yes, this work is indeed overwhelming. The mission trip team saw so many places of devastation. We heard stories of devastation, of despair. Cash Benito shares, based upon his experience on the mission trip, how he might respond if he was in a similar situation as the homeowners we worked with this week. So Cash, if you were someone who lived down here in Rockport and you lived through Hurricane Harvey and your home got damaged, tell me about how you think you would feel.
I would feel overwhelmed by the fact how everything is gone and changed.
What kinds of things do you think you would need so that you wouldn't feel overwhelmed anymore?
I would need help and somebody reassuring me that it's going to be okay.
Tell us about what you are doing to help our homeowners feel that everything's going to be okay and to reassure them.
Well, we are talking to them, we're just kind of learning their story, kind of sharing stories, just kind of acting like they're old friends, just kind of help them, and we're doing drywall on the ceiling to help them feel like everything's going back to normal.
Of course, the heart of any mission trip is relationships. We were encouraged to spend time with the homeowners, to listen to their stories, to respect their space and belongings, and to offer keepsakes to each household. We purchased frames and used our group pictures as well as these photographs of groups with their homeowners for them to keep. Jesus doesn't let anyone off the hook. Jesus tells the disciples that they are responsible for meeting these people's needs. The phrase is an imperative. You give them something to eat. Jesus expects them to respond, even if the situation seems overwhelming. So they gather what meager resources they have and bring it to Jesus. Jesus takes the bread and fish, lifts and blesses it, breaks it, and gives it to his disciples for distribution. Our students spent time each evening in Bible study with our intern, Charlotte Crofton, and they reflected on this morning's scripture passage on Wednesday. They were asked who they felt they were, the crowds, the disciples, or Jesus. We recorded their responses, and so you'll be hearing those now as you listen and watch on video.
What was that?
Jesus is sustenance.
Jesus is sustenance. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's more like God is, but the Lord will provide.
Alright, the Lord will provide.
I want to add on to what those boys said. He said that it's up to us, Jesus' disciples, to feed those we meet the bread of life, which is Jesus.
How many of you guys have been on your site and you're told to do something and you're like, how are we going to do that? How many of you guys knew how to do flooring before you were taught? How am I going to do flooring? I don't know how to do flooring. So when you're told you're going to do flooring, how would I do that? When you're told you're going to put a drywall on, how am I going to do that? So the disciples were like, Jesus, how are we going to do that? But then Jesus says, bring them here to me.
Accomplished.
Why do you feel accomplished?
Because we've seen progress in the home that we're working in, and the homeowner is very satisfied, and because we've asked those questions, things have been getting done that we wouldn't have been able to do, and the homeowner's going to do on their own. So I'm feeling things are close to being finished, and for one of the big obstacles in his life, and I feel accomplished that we're making a difference in their family's life.
One group might just make a little bit of progress. That's what we were saying, because the house that we were with you, we're seeing more of a finished part, but what we're doing now, we won't see it ever finished.
You're motivated to figure out what can we do for this family that's going to help the most in the short amount of time that we have.
I feel like the disciples sometimes, but then there's other times that I sort of feel like the manager.
Why?
Sometimes there's, like yesterday at the other house, there was just not enough stuff to do. I just don't sit around it. But then today, I was working pretty much all the time.
So you saw that different sort of position, right? Disciple or Jesus?
I'm a villager. Why? So I feel like every day you learn something new. Because like the guy we're working with, even though he's been through like all the stuff, he's always like really happy and always really nice. And like today he asked me how to work his phone. So like he's building bridges and he's trying to talk to us more. So I feel like he's a villager because every day you just learn something new.
Why?
He said, always asking, what should I do next?
Basically, the same thing someone's told me that always wanting to know what to do next or how to do something, at least on this mission trip, probably do something to help another person.
I'll probably be the surprising one and say that I think we're Jesus, because we've, in every home that we've gone into, there has been not a lot, and we've been able to make a lot out of not a lot. And I have a feeling that most of our homeowners' expectations, I know from talking with Pam at our house, even before we went to work, she was like, oh, you're bringing middle school kids. Well, whatever they do is probably going to be okay. And I know that we have exceeded her expectations with what has been done, and so we've been able to multiply her hope.
Because, and it goes with the reason why I'm here, because we watch on TV disasters, and it's hard. I imagine Jesus and God crying and being sad and compassionate with all these people. And that's what called me to come. I wanted to come because of the compassion, to help give them hope, give them faith, maybe heal, I don't know, hopefully heal. And then going on with what Pastor Jay said, we're able, when you come and you see that, and you see that face, and you get to know that person personally, it fills your heart, it overflows it, And so I think we're Jesus.
If you're gonna say Jesus, I need an answer, dude. Not just a ditto. Libby already tried that.
Going in and helping these people with what we've been doing, with the few resources we have. Kind of how when in the verses you had us read, they took the few loaves of bread and a few fish they had and they made it a lot out of a little.
It's all about people, helping people and showing them that we love them and we want to help you the best we can. So that's, to me, that's what it's all about.
Disciple. And I know we made a difference. And I know we did good because of the interaction we had with Pam. Because she hadn't been there all week.
Yeah.
Talk to us. And so it's not like patting himself on the back. It's not that. It's like just the pure joy that I felt when she walked in. And she was so emotional, just hugging all the kids. And I was just like, she loves every single one of us. And we love her. It's indescribable.
I'll say disciple because I think that us being there and present in their lives, hopefully we're giving them, when you're restoring someone's shelter, where their home, that's kind of part of their livelihood. You hope that you're touching them in a way, their lives in a way, that every day they wake up and they look around, they see God, because they see all the love that only can bring them back to their home.
I think of being a disciple because I'm his house plywood. And we're in there putting up drywall mud, and none of us have ever done that before. And in their kitchen, and so then when they got ready for lunch, they wiped the drywall off the table, sat down for lunch. But they were, and she said that they have been praying, and they were so glad to help. But I got a lot more meaning from her than she got from me today. I think it's like you said, we all have to, and what I'll take away from that then is to tell people what happened and what people will make.
Mission trips usually require some downtime. We were grateful to First United Methodist Church in Sinton, who hosted our group this week. Groups were also there from Ames, Iowa, and San Antonio, Texas. This church has turned the upstairs of their education wing into a home for volunteer teams. Each room has several bunk beds and mattresses, and the kitchen was available for us to use. One of the highlights there was that the shower laundry trailer was on loan for us to use through the Iowa Conference of the United Methodist Church. We were fortunate to convene and eat lunch at First United Methodist Church in Rockport each day. Their staff welcomed us into their youth space to store our lunches, to eat, and to use restroom facilities. We are so very grateful for their hospitality and sharing their space with us. We also took the opportunity while in downtown Rockport to get some souvenirs and to stop by the Daily Grind. Susan Inboden's sister-in-law, Michelle, is the owner. We were happy to give back to the economy and to support our caffeine addictions while spending time in Michelle's renovated facility. Of course, no trip would be complete without some fun. We got to eat authentic Mexican food and spent part of Wednesday afternoon at Port Aransas Beach. Everyone enjoyed some sun, time in the water, searching for shells and ocean creatures, and playing in the sand. One set of homeowners wanted to express their appreciation for our work and paid for us to have dinner out. On our way home, we got to attend the Houston Astros Texas Rangers baseball game in Houston, complete with fireworks. Jesus tells us that the disciples are supposed to meet people's basic needs. If people are hungry, feed them. If they need shelter, provide it. Even if the task seems overwhelming, we trust that Jesus is going to guide us through and bless our efforts so that He can be glorified. The task in Rockport continues to be overwhelming, but for these three families, we were able to make a difference, provide some hope, and move them toward making their homes complete again. We thank you for your support and encourage you to continue praying for the people of this area of Texas. May loaves and fish abound.